Welcome back, everybody. Today I want to hit you with Foda Flux Pack version 4. It's going to add a whole bunch of stuff, and there's been some updates to all of the workflows. I've also made lines versions that don't use easy use for the few of you guys that had that conflict problem. So you'll still be able to use this new workflow. So this is going to include the bridge. So Foda Flux Bridge is designed to push images straight to Flux from SDXL. So that means you're going to be able to use SDXL checkpoints, SDXL Loras, and of course, in the full version, because there's a basic which doesn't include the control net. In the full version, there's the ability to use control net. I'll put IP adapter in the next pack. So I don't want to make it too complicated straight out of the gate. It's actually pretty simple. It looks quite clean now. We're going to take a little walk through all of them. There'll be timestamps and links in the description. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss these updates. And be sure to check out some of the older videos, because I'm sure there's plenty of stuff that you'd be interested in now. So that's that. Other new features for this update. We got a new color correction module and free links to download cube format LUTs. If you use DaVinci or Premiere or even Photoshop, you can actually make these yourself, but it's pretty standard stuff. That's now included, and I show you how to where to get some free ones. There's links in the workflow as well. Also, we've got a new RemBG. It's better than BRIAAI, and it's not a non-commercial thing. So that's going to be Inspyre. So that's a new module which has also been added. But the main purpose of today's video is to show you how we can do what I call anything to Flux. I did this in Cascade. Some of you guys that have been following the channel for a while will remember that workflow. It's essentially the same thing, just a little bit cleaner. So with all that being said, let's jump into the workflow. All right, we'll start off with some quick housekeeping. So first of all, we have updates for the stuff that was in the V3 pack. So we have shift and shift lines, auto shift lines. So we'll just take a look at that. They've just had a very simple update. All of them have been updated to push the width from the aspect size controller. So when you pick your aspect ratio, that's what determines the dimensions of your image generation. And the model sampling Flux brought out an update of this node, which gives you base shift. So you can play around with these, but it's the same as before. You just get a little bit more variation by setting the base shift value. But also 1024 by 1024 is fine, but I get great results by pushing the exact dimensions used for everything else. So it's all matching, everything's matching, right? Okay. And that's pretty much everything for this workflow. Obviously, this one is using easy use. Okay. So now we'll just jump into the same version, which is in lines. So this is the exact same workflow, but using lines to connect everything. And as you can see, it's got the same modification. You've now got the max shift, base shift, and we're sending the width and height from the aspect size controller. Everything else works the same as before. You've got the switch. So you can choose text to image on mode 1 and image to image on mode 2. Everything's fed by the same. Sometimes you might want to keep proportion, but it depends on what size and dimensions you're putting in. And you'll be able to tell just by looking at the output. Operation is very simple. You can turn off flux shift and turn on upscaling. That's as simple as it is. It's 2x per stage. All right, same as before. So then, obviously, you know, if you've seen the previous pack, auto simply adds in this automatic prompt section. Okay, so it's padding, it's giving you a pre-prompt, a mid-prompt, and then it's giving you a bunch of styling settings, a preview of what's actually been made, and then pushing it. Also, it has the new sampling flux shift. All right, so that's basically the housekeeping out the way. Those are like sort of little updates to previous features. All right. So with that, we can now jump into Foda Bridge Basic. Foda Bridge Basic is using easy use. Okay. And as I said before, it features a new section for the remove background. This is comparing BRIAAI, which is our last favored method. It's going to do the matting on a white background. Then it's going to isolate only the matte. And then it's going to try and make it transparent. Yeah. So the same process, basically. And then we're doing the same thing with Inspyre RemBG. You might be able to run the torch script. It takes longer to initialize, but then it will make inference and VRAM usage lower. So like I said, the first time you run it when this is on, it might take a while to sort of sort itself out. But after that, it'll be quicker. Okay. And then also the color correction. This is a big new feature. So I put instructions in the description. Mostly it's about this part. This website, fixthephoto.com/freeluts. They've got some brilliant, I'm not being sponsored or anything on this one, guys. I just found a nice resource. There's loads of them. And I give links to a bunch of others, which I already downloaded before I found this one, right? What you do is you unzip or whatever, make sure they are in .cube format. So if you've already got LUTs, they're probably in cube format. Check. And then you put them in Comfy Essentials LUTs. So I'll just show you where that is in case I had the URL wrong. So custom nodes. Wait, bring it down. You can't see that. There. So custom nodes, Comfy UI Essentials LUTs. And as you can see, I've just chucked all my cube files in here. I like Filmic D-Log3. It's really cool. Just to explain what that is, often with cameras, you shoot in something called D-Log or flat or no, like a flat profile. It's like it's not graded, which gives you the most amount of ability when you come to. And so I essentially think this D-Log is going to, enhance the colors for log footage. I'm not entirely sure if that's what it is, but that's what it seems to be. And like I said, I like the effect it has. So after I've done my upscale, the last thing I do is I'll drop the image in here and then run it. And obviously you can play around with the strength, but this is technically non-destructive because it's using math to recolor the pixels. So it doesn't actually introduce any difference. It's just going to change. I'll show you in a minute when we come to the demonstration section. But basically that is one of the major new things. The last major thing before we get into the actual bridge is there has been a new low sigma approach for model shift. So what we do is we use split sigmas with step 0 and we connect low sigma. So this is a bit confusing, but basically it goes like this. So from the basic scheduler, you would go sigma into sampler custom advanced, but now if we do this, I saw a guy I follow who did it and I was like, so we gave it a try and I like it. So that's basically what that is there. It goes into the sigmas. All right. Now it's a math operation. I don't want to get silly. There's a lot of math going on behind the scenes. But essentially it's going to make some slight quality. I think it's a bit like it has the effect of a high res fix in some situations. It really depends what you're doing, but I like it. And obviously we've got a comparison here so you can see if you like it or not. I think I'm probably going to adopt this as the new standard sort of sampling method. And just in case people were wondering, I saw some people asking in the comments and I tried to explain it in plain terms. But if you want the actual technical thing, like what the heck is Guider? Why is it? What's sigmas? What's model? What is? Okay. NVIDIA came out with this super cool thing called Align Your Steps. And this is like the implementation of Align Your Steps. So now I haven't confirmed this, but I know that when we were using Align Your Steps diffusion models, you would have to use this sampler for that, right? So that makes me lean in the direction of Flux is an AYS model, which is pretty cool because that's the first mainline base model that we've seen. Everything else is a conversion. So that's very cool. Anyway, just in case anybody was wondering why these are slightly different, but also if you want to sort of dig around, you'll actually find a lot of content from about 3 months ago when Align Your Steps actually dropped and Comfy UI started supporting it. So you'll find a lot. It's kind of, it's weird. The buzz in AI kind of moves really quickly. So there's a lot of stuff. Often when I build my workflows, I'm actually raiding 1.5, 2.1 and old SDXL stuff. And I'm going, that worked for this. I wonder if I build it in Flux or colors or whatever, is that going to make an improvement? And sometimes it breaks, or sometimes it's not better, and other times it is better. And that's part of the process. So anyway, we're going to have timestamps in this so I can waffle on a little bit today. All right. So now we've explained the modification there. Let's talk about this actual layout here. So let's try to explain this a little bit more visually than usual. We're going to dive into it in a second, but let's just explain what we're looking at. So the blue, these are in toggle groups together. This section is the upscale section and tools. So, the the remove background and the color correction, that's all sort of in the same group as tools, right? But the main section is the blue, green, blue little sandwich over here, right? Now, the top row, that would be the SDXL section. So that is loading SDXL, and it's taking a common prompt from the green section in the middle, and then it's doing a full render with some alternate samplers. And then I'll explain this more, but we are actually going to run all 3 images in here. Now, you could just hook up the last one, but I want to do a bit of a demo and show you some stuff here, okay? So that's the reason for this extra group, which won't be in later versions, all right? It's basically just showing different sampler settings and how that can affect things. We'll get into it. Now, the bottom blue section, that would be Flux. Flux set on image to image with a fixed seed. So what's going to happen is we're going to load our SDXL checkpoint. We're going to load our Lora, and we're going to leave it on, half off. So they're all toggleable. So I would basically turn everything off except for the top row. And then I get my prompt and I get my prompt right. Okay. And then once I'm happy with the prompt, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the remaining section, and then it's going to start sending the images down. Obviously, you could just work up here and have an image loader, but I think it is, yeah, I'll show you what to do. All right. And then that's basically it, guys. It's text to image up top or image to image up top, and then image to image down bottom. Take your image, upscale it, do the color correction. That's the workflow. So let's have a look at the controls. So the controls are actually even better in the later versions because I sort of moved things around a little bit. But at the moment, there's a reason why things are where they are. You needed to be able to get to these denoise options because you might want to fiddle with the image-to-image denoise, okay? And also, I wanted the prompt to be somewhat near the aspect size and seed, because then I can just use the preview down the bottom and then just keep changing what I need to change and not actually have to move the screen around. Everything's technically here. So you put that at the top and the preview is going to come in the lower half of the screen. Okay. As a matter of fact, let's just, what do we got? Yeah, let's just check the settings. Okay. So do what I said, right? So we'll turn off Flux for now and turn off the isolation and the color correction sections. Okay, and then run it. So while it's running, I'm just going to explain a little bit. What we've got here is a prompt styler. When it's set to base, it doesn't do anything. However, you've got a load of presets to enhance the prompt if you need to. Typically, people come with their own prompts. So this is an anime prompt from the Thora SDXL Lora, which I released on Civit. You'll find that on my profile. And what I've done is I've taken a combination of the tags that are trained into that Lora, and that will give us a character like this. Okay. Now, I originally used a very high CFG in order to force a particular effect. So when I originally did this, it was done with 24 CFG, which is quite high. And there's problems with that. But like I said, it was to push an effect. If you notice the sort of the way the hair and the face looks. But we can get that at normal CFGs now using Flux. So we don't even need to do that anymore. So yeah, that would be the original. And then this would be another sampler, which I've got set up. Okay. So here are the sampler settings. I'm just going to take a quick peek. So we've got Euler simple with 8 CFG and 20 steps. And then over here, we've got DPM2M SD GPU Keras with 24 CFG and 30 steps. And then over here, we've got DPM2M Alt. A lot of people were actually asking, where's that come from? It's actually in the Comfy UI model manager. I'd forgotten where it came from, and somebody actually had the same problem and asked me in the Discord. We figured it out. So there it is. And like I said, that's producing 20 and 7 CFG, and it's producing a good image, like I say. A little bit more illustrated. Looks a bit sort of inky. Anyway. And then what I'm doing is I'm doing a make batch, and then I'm sending the batch to a set reference. And then down here, we've got a set reference, which I'm pulling. So there's the batch reference going into the image to image input, right? But we'll get into that section in a second. So up here, we have the Lora stack. So we can turn on and off different Loras and, weight them differently. There is a preview for the prompt at this point as well, just in case you've forgotten what you're doing. But yeah, all you really need to know is that the seed for SDXL is right here, and it's going to be on fixed, but you can click this button to get a new manual random, which I find quite useful to save on. It doesn't just generate every time. If you have it on random, it does that. So if you do it like this, you can just click the button for a new seed. It's a lot less fuss. And that's pretty much everything. Oh, just to explain this. So what's happening here is we're making 2 latents with the same size as set by the aspectsize module. And then what's happening is you've got the image to image latent. So this one down here is making a latent for image to image, right? And then this one up here is making a text to image latent of the same size, just so everything matches, right? And so if I've got it on 1, that's text to image. Now, I found it annoying to have to go through the samplers and change the denoise. And it was kind of annoying to have to keep changing. So say I wanted to change text to image mode. I always want 1, really. And if I go to image on text to image, I always want 1. On image to image, I probably want 0.4 or something like that. So what I did was I set up a second switch, which is set up in the same order. So text to image, image to image. And so when you control this, it controls that. So that's what that is. So it's kind of automatically swapping the denoise preset and then feeding that into the sampler. So then you don't have to muck about. You only have to mess around with the bits you want to actually change and compare. So then this becomes like a little module, just like in the sampler garden, right? Okay, so that's explaining how I've done this and what these are. So yeah, 24 CFG in the middle. Just remember that when we start generating images. Okay, right. Now, if I go to Flux, let's just flux it up. So you can run it like this. It does use memory though. So it depends what you're trying to do. Okay, right now, let me just see. So we've got 3.5 positive prompt. Max shift settings are here for Flux. And then the denoise settings are here. I tried to mark things in yellow if they're like things you want to change. You can obviously use text to image, but that's just going to use the same prompt. And the whole goal here is to pass the image through. So it's going to be in mode 2. And as I said, I'm sending the batch, right? I could just send the base. That's another reference. Or I could load the best images, which I have generated from SDXL manually, right? So there's a bunch of different ways you can operate this, okay? But what we're going to do is we're going to run the batch. So there's the batch there. So I'm going to ask for a new seed. Boom. Okay, and then the images are going to come in at the bottom. So I can just sit here for now. Like this. And I should have, because this is the thing, I dial in my settings first to a point which I like. As discussed in the previous video, if you want to increase or decrease the effect of the transfer, okay, Because, for example, this is going to be from SDXL, right? What we can do is we can decrease the denoise to make it more like the original image, but then we can increase the model shift, the max. So what I mean by that is we've got it at 0.35 denoise right now, which is very low, but then we're using a model shift max of 1.5, which is going to boost the effect of the denoise, even though it's at a low strength. It's kind of hard to, it's like hyper denoising. But anyway, it's very cool. Like I said, you can read the paper on Align Your Steps from NVIDIA to get more insight on that. I'll try to include a link to it in the workflow page, just in case you're interested. Okay. So now it's loaded. So remember, we're going to be comparing the version 3 method, which I put out in the last pack, and then this new method, which comes with low sigma shift. Okay, so we've got our first set of images, and as you can see, they're pretty darn good. So if you remember how I was saying I had to push 24 CFG to get this kind of look, but now they kind of all have that look. So that image there is a transformation of, I think it's that one. No, it's this one. So that image became that image. So it's got the same hair and face type I was going for, but I don't need to do the high CFG. Interestingly, the cooked image still comes out great. So one thing I've noticed is that we can put in old images that were horribly broken, and sometimes it will fix them. All you have to do is increase the denoise and reduce the shift a bit. It's all down to your prompt, really, but this process works nicely. So, like I said, what I've done, just to sort of show you what's actually gone on here, if I open up this bottom one, these are difference charts. So what it's done is it's compared the difference. So what is the difference between the last method and using low sigma? Because it's very difficult to see the difference. If I was to show you that image and that image, they look very similar. Let's see if I can just, in fact, I'll just show you the whole point. So that right there is the actual difference between the two. And as you can see, there's a whole lot of high-res fixing been going on here, right? So it's possible that by manipulating split sigmas, we can actually get a little bit more detail. I mean, you might say it's not really more detail. It's just kind of, I don't know, just seems crisp if I look at that. But anyway, I've already set it up so we don't have to muck about. So here we go. If I just zoom in on this one, we've got a comparer. So here she is. You see what I mean? It's very subtle, but you can see the changes. Look, those pipes are gone. It's like I said, it's you get to this point where it's like you have to do this sort of thing to see what the difference was. I mean, you might not need it, but if you don't need it, you can just delete the node. Like I said, I'm not sure if it really does anything in terms of memory efficiency or something. I think that was originally the claim, but I didn't see any difference. It still used the same amount that it always used for me. But in the comments in the last video, we have had reports of people on 8 GB laptops, 4060, and somebody with a 12 GB system was able to run it, which is really interesting because my card uses like 18 GB when I checked it. Seems to use about 18. It was under 12 for a while, but then I had a big spike at the end. And I'm not sure if that's just because I've got mine in unrestricted mode or something, because I don't use any flags when I open my comfy. It's just running. I know there's ways you can optimize. Anyway, so let's not get caught up in the woods. That's the basic outlay. We'll do a little bit of generation, but we've got other workflows to look at. So I just want to pretty much, like I said, if I just turn all of these off, we can do a quick look at the No, you need to actually have it running. Yeah, true. But there's nothing wrong with me just putting an image load in there real quick. So if I just chuck a load in here and plug him in like that, we'll get this lady here. And we'll run. Oh yeah, of course I need to turn it on because I'm smart. So we'll turn isolation and color correction on. And what I'll do is I'll put her in here as well. And we'll run both. So this is going to compare Inspyre and BRIAAI. As you can see, sometimes it gets a bit confused with the buildings. It's not really its fault, but that's just the way it is. And as a result, sometimes you'll get images like this. Now, we use BRIAAI a lot in some of the workflows for animation, so it's very reliable. But certain images, like this one, because of the complexity of the background, I think it is, it doesn't really know what's what. However, when we look at InspireNet, even with default mode, so it's fine, you can run it like that. As you can see, it's perfectly chopped her out. And not only that, it didn't mess up inside the arm, which often is the problem when it does. So when it does get the background removed, often it doesn't remove what's in the arm. As you can see, that's completely unchanged. We can do another example. So let's pick. Do we have anything which doesn't have buildings in? That one's really high. We can try it anyway. Okay, so I hope you can see that that's a big improvement and it's much, much cleaner. So yeah, it does really well. I'm going to adopt that into the roto packs and all those sorts of tools that use BRIAAI. We're going to swap them out. So as you can see here, what we've done is we've used the D-Log cube, V3 cube. And as you can see there, it's quite significant. Okay, it's quite a significant color correction. And the thing is that with color correction, you might say, well, I can just do this myself. And you could do. But what this gives you is a preset that you can apply evenly to an entire folder. So we're going to be releasing a post-processing workflow, which you'll be able to use with any model because it won't use a model. It'll only use this, all of these sorts of tools will be in it. And essentially, it's making a consistent look. So let me just see if I can break it by putting a different image in. And then we'll see if we get the same color grade. Yeah, you see what I mean? Yeah. So it's about the consistent look. It's not necessarily about enhancing or restoring or anything like that. This is just generally like a much fuller image. And as I say, there are so many. Some of them are based on like movie looks, like you got the Blade Runner look. And also we've got strength, so don't forget about that. I have it at 0.3, sometimes 0.4 and 0.5 I find is a bit strong. You see what I mean? It's starting to blow out the hair a bit, in my opinion. But if you wanted a more vibrant look, very easy to do. So let's try this one, because this one was like completely crazy. It's a little bit transparent as well. I hope that didn't cause a problem at all. Yeah, it's fine. In fact, it kind of made it better because we've got this really nice white background now. All right. So actually, that's interesting. I didn't know what would happen when I put something transparent in there. So let me just chuck my separated version in. Is it just going to go all white? What? Okay. You know what this means? The data's still there. It doesn't zero out the pixels when it makes them alpha. That's quite interesting. Did you see that? So I put the transparent image in that had been cropped, and the image information is still there. That is interesting. So I wonder what happens when I put our silhouette in. So we color correct the figure. Is she going to come back? No. I'm going to start releasing these, and you have to color correct them to get the artwork. This is actually kind of funny to me. I don't know why, but we've just got like, it's not stenography, okay? This is obvious. Anybody that works with images understands what's going on here. Basically, the pixel data is still there. That's really interesting. Anyway, we're going to move on because I get a little bit carried away sometimes and I don't want to waste your time. That's fun though. Right. So we've looked at the modules. So now we can get on to the remaining workflows. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller and we're going to take a look at the next ones. Okay. So we were looking at Foda Bridge Basic. So let's just take a look at Foda Auto Basic. Don't need to spend much time on this one because it's exactly the same. The only difference is it's using the prompt enhancers. So that means that for this version, what you're going to do is instead of a positive and a negative prompt, you're going to use a positive pre-prompt and a positive mid-prompt. Both of them are combined into the prompt generator and generates a negative for SDXL. There isn't one for this model, so don't need to worry about that. But all you need to know is the seed generation is there. If you're wondering why the seed generator isn't there for Flux, it's because we really want to keep it the same. But you can change it here. You could put it on random if you want. It doesn't really matter because the thing is we're going to be passing the image from SDXL. That's the whole point of this workflow. All right. You can use it for other purposes, but that is basically what it's for. So what I found was that the basic is better for this in a way, because like if you want to do text to image with SDXL, then the prompt enhancer is going to help make the image better. And then with the image to image, it will be consistently transformed, right? Because it's the same prompt with that image transformed through Flux. So that'll work great. What I find is more creative, high denoise, low shift, more prompt adherence while also following the image, low denoise, high flux shift. That's all you really need to remember for the Flux side of things. I've showed this off in the previous video in detail. There's a link in the description for that one. But what this actually does is it means that we can load our favorite Lora, our favorite checkpoint for SDXL, and then we're halfway there to doing some work with Flux, right? So then it's a question of how much variation do you want it to have, okay? So that would be this workflow. Again, this one's using EasyUse, okay? It's exactly the same as the previous one. You set it all up, and then when you're happy, you're making good images with SDXL, you just turn this one on. And again, if I go down here, you can see it's currently set up to take the base output, but you have the option, as I said before, of hooking this one up, which means that you decide what it makes. Because obviously SDXL does make a few funky images. It's kind of a waste of compute to throw them all through. But if you are on a good run, obviously you might find it's less hassle to be dragging the image from here into here all the time. Okay, so what we're going to do then is we're going to, no, I'll do it in the last workflow because then we can sit on that one. All right, so that's pretty much this one explained. It's exactly the same as the last one, only it does some prompt enhancement. Okay, pretty simple stuff. I hope I'm explaining this nicely for you guys. So let's jump to the last, which is the main workflow, but I'm going to sit on the lines version. So they're both identical. So here we are. This is the CNET version. So currently what I've done is I've got Zoe Depth, DW Pose Estimator, and Canny Edge. All right. In the stack just here, let's go full screen. In the stack, what we've got is the control Lora Depth rank 128, XL Open Pose XL2, and control net Canny rank 128. Okay, so there we go. That's what we've got loaded. The preprocessors, they're all being sent from a single load image, which is being resized by the aspect ratio dimensions. Again, fill crop, and it all just gets fed through the system. All right. Your prompt is going to come out here. So this is currently what we're looking at. Close up anime. TRRZ is for my Thora model. KZK woman is for the anime Thora model. So we're combining the two. One at 0.3 to get a consistent character. So in other words, Thora is my person model, right? And then the KZK anime is the anime style model. They're similar, but it gives you a consistency in the character, right? It doesn't change the type of face every other image, basically, is what I'm saying. Sometimes it will be variated and you're like, that's not quite what I'm looking for. But it doesn't know which type of anime you want. So generally, if you make 4 images, they'll all have distinctly different styles of face, which is interesting. Okay. This is how you keep it consistent, by feeding the Lora. We've looked at that in previous videos, so I don't want to teach you how to suck eggs. So what we're going to do is, let's just give it a run. Let's just check everything. What have we got turned on? Right now, we're at 4 to 5 to the height, so we're doing a portrait. All the tools are off, and we're just using SDXL. We've got our prompt and our negative set up. Yeah, that's fine. And what we're going to do is we're going to check the thing here. So our Lora stack is currently on and on. So we've got the 2 Loras I was talking about, TRRZ Thora and KZK Anime Thora. Obviously, you can use whatever you want. There's thousands of Loras you can pick up for this. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to leave the control net off for now, but what we're going to do is preset it. So I want to use open pose and depth for this, and I'm going to feed it this image, all right? But this main switch here is currently off, so it's not going to actually do anything, all right? The Loras are going to load, but the control net will not. And so for that reason, I'm going to be on image text to image mode, right? Which means my denoise is currently 1. Currently working in SDXL, so let's go. Now, this is quite tight. Sometimes I'll run out of memory, but if I just open up Manager, unload models, and start again, it's fine. So it must be some kind of weird dimension thing or a caching thing. I don't know, but it might be that some of the control net models are quite large and you sort of, I don't know, but it does work. It's fine. It's one of those reasons to buy one of those 4090s that I've linked in the description at the very bottom. Oh, dear. But yeah, I was looking at it actually while this is running. £1,600 for a 4090? That's an absolute bargain. I had to pay £2,000 for mine. And to be honest, you can do a little bit of work with it and it'll earn that money back in no time. So it's a good. And also you can do all kinds of stuff with a big GPU. It doesn't have to be just making images. And I'm sure that there's going to be 3D generation, much more video generation coming soon. It's a good time to get into it. Right. So here's my image. The face is a little bit off. See, that is the correct face, but it's like blown out, man. Okay, that's better, but still, it's sort of, I think actually the Thor is too much influence and the anime is not enough influence right now. What I have done is in the past, I have trained the same model many times, right? So I trained this model on Civit, and then I trained this model on Colab, but they're essentially identical, okay? So if I just put this to 0.6, right? They're not identical though, is my point, right? So you were just looking at the output from my Colab trained Lora, which was done a long time ago. C3 Leah, ridiculous settings compared to what we do now. So if I take this off and let's just compare. What it should do is now make the same set of 3 images, only with the Civit trained Lora. And look at that. The anime's gone. But it's such a good, yeah, it's so much better. Oh, wait, the anime's back if you push it. Look, see, push it to 24 CFG and you get this epic anime look. It's like really cool. This is a little thing I found out a long time ago, like sometime last year when I was doing work commercially. And it was kind of like a big surprise because we were just like, wait a minute. Because obviously we were getting this sort of thing, which to be fair, that is kind of like what the model was trained on. But it's just an interesting point that that face is, yeah, that's even got the facial expressions that we're trained in. That's really cool. But this is kind of what we want, right? And I think what it is the anime weight. So let's see. I turned off that one. So basically this one seems to have a lot more anime data in it, right? So let's just turn it back on so we can have all three. Now, I'm not sure. This one is public. These two might be private test Loras. I'm not sure if I ever released them. This one might be out because I used it as a test case basically to show people the results and stuff. We wrote them up. All right, let's not mess around. So we've turned that other Lora back on now. We're going to see if we can get that anime influence back into the normal sampler because 24 is actually quite high. Okay, so yeah, we've got the anime look back now. And yeah, this is much more consistent with the outputs that I was getting. It's just a shame you have to push it so hard. And then there you have it. So now we're making images which are consistent with the images I was training. All right. This is basically the artwork that it was trained on. Okay. So it's very similar but different. It's new work. And it's following the prompt, as I say. So just a reminder. Close up, anime TRRZ for the woman model, and KZK for the character in the anime model. Red hair, cosmic blue eyes. That's a blend of the two. Wearing soldier outfit, standing in front of a very tall building with lots of wires. I'm going to get rid of the lots of wires, even though I do enjoy the aesthetic. We're going to get rid of the lots of wires. And then we should be able to clearly see what's going on. Now, another point, people were saying it's bad at photography. I haven't even showcased any really. I've just been doing test prompts and stuff. The jury is out. I would expect it's actually very good. Everything points to that. So let's just make it a tall aspect ratio as well. We will also go for a new seed. And then it's going to start the whole process. So while it's doing that, let's just check through my list. Yeah, we've talked about everything in there. Yeah. So there will be an advanced version coming in the next pack, which basically adds IP adapter as a new module, right? The reason I haven't done that here is because it's quite clean right now. It's quite easy to use, I think. And I didn't feel like it was worth sinking another 6 hours into testing that without doing another video. Really, I wanted to bring this out yesterday, but I'm sure you'll appreciate it working. Thanks to everyone in the Discord who found a bug in one of the early releases. I'm kind of glad I started doing early editions in the Discord. You can join in the description if you want to take those on. I make mistakes. I think what it was actually, it was weird, right? I had this set to no color and some people couldn't load it. So I set it to green and everything was fine. So it was kind of a weird bug, I guess. Some people, and it wasn't consistent. Most people could. It's a bit like the easy nodes thing. Some people can't run easy nodes and other people can. Anyway, let's take a look at the, that would have been a good segue for me to load the lines variants now, which is what we're about to do. But I need to show you these outputs first. So there we have our three ladies. And then here we have our three ladies in flux. Okay. And even with this ridiculously blown out CFG, because it's, conforming things here, it actually looks fine. It looks fine. And then here we have the, the outputs from the alternate approach, the low sigma. And then there's the difference. Because, like I said, it's very difficult for you actually to tell because you look at these two sets of images here and they look so similar that it's sort of like, I mean, they're the same, aren't they? But they're not. They're actually radically different. There's a whole bunch of stuff been done. Usually it's for the better, but the jury's out on that because like I say, we're still testing things. So once you've got yourself an image that you like the look of, obviously, go to the main control section in the middle, turn it all off. I mean, you can run it all at once, but we're trying to save memory, right? So we're not going to use the matting. We're just going to use Upscaler Config, which is a new section, mainly so I could move things around easier. But Upscaler Config is the first section where you put the image you want to upscale. So let's put this one in like that. and we're using a simple upscaling prompt. You can obviously use your own if you have a better one. What's going on here? Hang on a minute. Oh yeah, that's right. For a minute there, I was getting a bit confused. This is the two different clip models. So you got clip L at the top and you got clip T5 at the bottom, because this is a native Flux upscaler. We're not using SDXL or 1.5. We are upscaling with Flux. I'm sure there's a cleaner way of doing this, but for now, it's fine. It works great. It's tiled to 768 on shuffle or random, I think. I forget. Maybe not, actually. Maybe just tiled, actually. I don't think yeah. See, it could be better if we could make the tile random, basically, straight away. Anyway, I'm not doing that. So let's just do the upscale. I'm always thinking about how we can make the workflows better. So, right. So there we have our upscale. Okay, and then what I would do is I would just have it switched on, but making unnecessary images, And like I said, there's going to be less images that you do the upscale on. And I think I'm going to make a batch color correction tool so that instead of just doing one image at a time, you could put all of your upscales in a directory and then just have it do them all, because it's very quick. So let's take the upscale that we just finished, put that one in there and give her the D-log treatment. Okay. And like I say, if you felt like, oh, this is like super blown out, it does look like something you would get in a cover art though, which is really nice. Let's just show you some of the stuff here. So I'll put on the Blade Runner, pump it a little bit, and then we should get sort of like a bluey, like a bluey look. You see what I mean? This sort of stuff, which it does. So now let's put this one in there and apply the same thing to it. Now, if it blends, fair enough, but is that blended? Do you know what? I'm going to take it back. I think it has actually blended it. All right, well, that's interesting, that is. So let me just mess around here. So I'm going to put that one now in there. Make that. Obviously, it just made that one again, I think. Oh, no, it did that. Okay, so now put that in there and use, I don't know, or is it? There's one I'm looking for. Sunshine. That's not what I was looking for, but why not? Interesting. And it is at 0.3, by the way. I could probably turn it up so that you can see a bigger difference, okay? I just doubled the strength for this one. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. So the last ones we're going to look at today are the lines versions. So we don't need to actually go through them so much. We've got shift lines, which basically is an update. So we've changed that bit there. We've also got auto shift lines, which again, I think I already showed you this one earlier, actually. All right. And then finally, the one which you're probably going to want to use. What the hell, Windows? What you're going to want to do is take CNET lines. So if you're a non-easy user, this is the one that you're going to want. It is the full CNET version with all the extra modules, but no easy use. So like I said, if you're not an easy user, you can have this traditional lines setup. All right. And this is the one which we're going to have a bit of fun with the control net. So if I just take a look here and see what we got running, we've got open pose, we've got depth, we've got my Lora. Put them all on, turn that down to, I think I had to adjust it. Yeah, down to 6, like that. That's probably still too strong, but whatever. Okay, we've got this guy here being used as the control net guide. No previews to speed it up, but if you want, you can obviously drag off the map and preview. You can make you can see what it's actually doing. I usually don't bother. It's on text to image right now because we're in what I call calibration stage. So what that means is we're going to turn off the flux, just isolate SDXL, got random seed, check the, this is the prompt I want, this is the aspect size I want, I'm happy with the negative prompt, the seed's fine. So we've got SDXL only running right now. So let's run it. And we have the Loras on, but the control net is off. Okay. So there's our image. All right. So it's producing basically what we've been looking at all day. Right. So that's cool. It's coming out. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is obviously we've got a picture of a person standing. It's not really very different. It's annoying. Well, it will look different in a minute because I'm going to turn it on. So here we go. We go with control net on, and then we'll be able to see the difference. Okay, now sometimes you have to mess around. You have to change the strengths of the control nets and things. Maybe you have to change the start and end point. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. But actually, it's done a pretty good job of trying to follow the image that was given. So that was what it wanted to do on text to image. And then when we gave it this guy, make him larger. So you see that? We've given him that. This is what it should have made. Now I made that. Okay. Now, obviously, you can turn up or down the control net. You can make him phase, right? So something which I often like to do is I like to put the control net depth first, but have it end at like, I don't know, 0.5. So if there's 20 steps, at 10, it will stop there. And then it'll just be open pose for the whole thing, right? So let's give that one a go and see how that comes out. And then obviously what this will allow you to do is by controlling the control net on this side, you can then effectively control a control net for this side. Now it's not identical, but low noise, high boost, you should be fine. So let's see. This is actually a very nice image now. There's good definition. Doesn't look like she's melting into the background. It's pretty crisp. I think the open pose is good. It's followed that pretty well. You can't really do much about that. The depth also looks fine. Sometimes I might experiment with turning it down. And then obviously you also have the canny option. Now I will start the canny at 0.5, so it's not running at the same time as the depth. And we'll just see what difference that makes. Probably going to be a bit weird because there isn't really a face on the other model. You know, this other thing is a masked man, right? So it's probably not going to have a good effect. Let's have a look. I don't know, actually. Sometimes I got to take it back. I actually did a pretty good job. Got some sort of wires bleeding into her, but I'm okay with that. Okay. So what we'll do is we will now turn on that, and then we will ask for a new SDXL seed, and that's going to make it make another prompt. No, sorry. It's going to make another image. Okay. So there we go. We've made our SDXL output. It's not bad. It's not bad, actually. Pretty good for SDXL. Very clean. And then we're going to throw it into, wait. See, it's not actually hooked up. So what do? Well, we take the image from the output, drop it on a reroute, drag the reroute in like that. There we go. Now I'm going to leave the load image there just in case, you know, I want to do a load image later. But we're now going to run that again. And obviously everything's on fixed. So it'll just send that one through. Okay. So that's very cool. Look at that. So it went from this to this. And like I said, it's enhanced the clarity. Okay. Now, if I wanted it to look a bit more like this, because obviously we've lost the expression, I'd probably have to change the prompt, because a lot of these images that I've generated, they were actually trained with expressions in the Lora. So that's what's coming through. But I believe that if I was to add like, what's that? I don't even know what that is. Glaring? I don't know. Let's try it. Close up, red hair and cosmic blue eyes. Glaring? I could just probably say that. Glaring. What's it called? Glaring expression. Try that. I haven't even tested this. Same seed. Off we go. There's also more we can do. See, I'd do prompt editing first, okay, to see whether that helps, right? Often you can. Okay, cool. So it didn't really change the expression, but all right. Then how does it end up in here? Okay, we're getting closer. Getting closer. There's still the emotion is still wrong. But like I said, this is something which you have to kind of work on that with the prompting. But what we can do is we can lower the denoise. So we're actually quite high right now at 0.35. So we'll bring it down to like 0.3, regenerate, and we'll see how we go. Okay. And like I said, this is quite tricky to get expression to match. So let's go for 0.25. So many ways to attack it as well. It's getting there, but it's still not quite right. I might think about bringing this down and bringing this down. Just relax, just relax. We're starting to get a bit of an expression. It's not the correct expression, but it's an expression. So let's just bring this down a bit more. Just bring it down by 10 on both. So we're just bringing both sliders down together. Hopefully we don't break it. See, it didn't really do much. So let's take a look at the other side. How's that doing? It's kind of losing it a bit, I think. What's this one? Yeah, see, this seems a bit sharper. You got to do one-to-one comparisons, really, but okay. So, just to sort of cap it off there, what we have is we have a SDXL text to image, which you can load your favorite checkpoints and Loras, get all your best prompts. The best way to do it is just to duplicate the tab and then grab an old image of yours, drop it in, and then just steal the prompt from your old workflow. Bring the image across and put the image in there. Something else which you can do, which is quite fun. If I drag this into the image to image section and then put image to image on, okay, then what we're going to do, ignore this for now, get rid of that, it's not being used. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use image to image on the SDXL to make it more like this image with all the control nets and everything else. Now this often is like you're forcing it too hard. It's going to, oh, no. That's okay. So now what we want to do is, because remember before, this is the best we could do was just increase the denoise and hope it doesn't explode. It was on 0.4. We're taking it up to 0.55. Now we're starting to get a bit of a blend of the two. So let's keep going. Typically, you would be on like 0.75 as a default for image to image. But I sometimes find that like 0.65 is sometimes a bit cleaner. We'll see what happens here. Oh, that's weird. Yeah, see, 7.5 is a bit too strong. Oh, wait, hang on. Is there oh, yeah, okay, it's fine. So we're going to go back a bit to 6.5. Okay. It's really trying to get the face now, isn't it? See, before it just refused, and now it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that thing you prompted now. So this is a bit of a bit more mishmashed, you know, it's not really that great. But like I said, it's there for you to experiment with. I'm sure if you play around with everything, I'm sure it'll work. It's just a question of what you're trying to do. So I try to give the option in case that is what you're trying to do. Okay, so remember all your images are going to be in output folder, and then they're going to be all organized. So the SDXL stuff is separate and all that good stuff. So you'll find your upscales in there. I've got a good old load of them now. So yeah, that's everything I got for you today. I'm sure we'll be back with another video very soon. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. So, memberships are here. I've added donator and member. The donator membership is just you want to support the channel, help us grow. Member, you're going to get some exclusive video access. So look out for the upcoming date and check out the join now button for more information.